All right, we're going to talk about the Supercaliber, the Trek new cross country Gen 2 that was released on the 10th as promised. Going to do some World Champ stuff, some Canadian talk. The XCC is now over. Had a few interesting things going on there. Of course, the XCO coming up tomorrow's got a couple interesting things going on there. And we're going to talk about a couple other weird things that you probably didn't know about the World Champs. And of course, we'll come up with a few new things to discuss as well. So let's get going.
Short travel navigated.
All right, we're going to start off talking about the Trek Supercaliber. Why do you keep talking about the Trek Supercaliber? Is probably what you're saying to yourself. Well, I'll tell you, because I've been thinking I might want to get something new for the next couple seasons, and I don't know, Trek being a Midwest company, and that's honestly the majority of the bike shops I have around me are Trek dealers. It just kind of made sense to look at what they had. That's what I have now. I have a Top Fuel from 2016. And the Supercaliber, the Gen 1, as they're calling it, just didn't seem like a logical next step for me to go from 100 front and rear to something much less in the rear. I did like the two water bottles. Several times I almost bought one just to get that second water bottle. But ultimately, something just kept me from doing it. So I was kind of, really looking forward to this new version. Thought, well, for sure they're going to add some more travel. Kind of honestly expected something a little more new. I don't know. Different. I guess it looks pretty much the same. We won't go into all the details. If you want to, you can just, that stuff's all over the place now. There's reviews on everybody's website as usual for all the details. But a couple things I'm still not sure about. The prices, of course, are still insane. But the weights are kind of, I don't know, they seem a little high. But I guess I did some more research. I was also looking at a Santa Cruz Blur, and the weights are about the same. Now, the Blur does have a full old school 100 mil travel out back. So there's that. And the weight of their bikes are actually about the same, maybe a little less for the Santa Cruz models. But 24-ish pounds for a $8,000 or $9,000 bike. It's supposed to be kind of, near top of the line cross country. It just seems a little high to me. I guess I was expecting more around a 22, 23 range. Now they are putting some giant 2.4 tires on there, and they have droppers on everything as standard. I get that. I get that there's more weight. I mean, those tires alone, 2.4s, front and rear, you're going to add a pound just for those. Dropper, you're going to add a half pound maybe. And these are all without pedals, of course. So, I mean, a decent pair of XTR pedals are 3/4 of a pound right there. So, you're talking 25 pounds for a $9,000 race bike with 80 mil of travel. And that's the super light, the SLR version. One thing I did find really strange is the 2 to 200 gram weight loss of the SLR is partially due, and they're almost touting it as it's a feature, that they remove the cable tunnels inside the frame. So you just go back to old school wrapping the cables in foam to keep the noise down. That to me does not seem like something I'd be bragging about. I think the tunnels, the ports for the cable, you just shove a cable in the hole and it comes out the end. To me, that sounds like I'd want that. I don't care if you're racing or not. But what do I know? The other interesting thing is, of course, the rear brake float. They're calling it a rear floating brake mount. That's interesting. I don't know. They did release a frame only, $4,000, $4,000 for just the frame. That means you got to buy the remote, I'm guessing. There's another $50 to $100. I don't know. Just seems like a tough sell for me right now. I'd almost want to actually start looking outside of Trek and get something more traditional. Even the Epic, even the Brain isn't looking so bad right now. I love the fact that these Epic models with the Brains have only 2 cables going for the brakes. That just looks so clean. Now, of course, I did not really expect them to put a flight attendant on these models. It's hard to think that, all these this model 24 was probably in development, at least a year ago, if not 2 years ago. So everything's just shifted. It is odd to me that RockShox released all the new SIDs and then immediately start releasing flight attendant forks on all the pro bikes. I mean, half of them have it, half of them don't. Seems like that might have been logical to release that all together, and then these new 24 model bikes would have an option for the flight attendant. So let's look at the top of the line Supercaliber, over $11,000. No power meter, although somebody did mention there might be a one-sided spindle power meter, but they're not giving you the nice spider chainring based. So there's another, I don't know what do those cost, 600 more? And now you add flight attendant. I mean, you're talking 13, 14 grand for a Supercaliber with all the goodies. Wowzers. And if you look at the XTR version of the Supercaliber, it's like 2 grand less. The only thing different is of course, you don't get the transmission wireless, which, I agree that should cost more, but not, the whole group is 2 grand. So the difference between an XTR group and a top of the line transmission is not 2 grand. It's, last I checked, it's probably 800 or 900 at the most. So, man, they're just piling it on. I guess that's what it costs nowadays to have the top of the line components. But still, I was kind of bummed with the weights and giant 2.4 tires. Now I know a lot of people are using those. I'm not saying that's a horrible thing, but you start talking 25 pounds for a cross country top of the line. I don't know. Seems too much. What do I know? Let's move on to the world champs. First of all, shout out to Canada. The junior women, first and second, gold and silver. Those 2 women seem to be at the top of their class right now. It's interesting. I never paid any attention to the juniors or the U23s, to be honest. There just wasn't much going on there, but I'm starting to realize now these categories are actually extremely interesting, figuring these are going to be your next, elite World Cup racers. Not all of them. Some of them might not keep going, but I bet, certainly the ones at the top probably have every intention to eventually get into the elites. And it's been a while, the juniors are the next U23s who are the next elites. So let's see what happens. It kind of led me down the road when I was doing a little research about the current Canadian team, and I forgot that Catherine Pendrell is, if she's not the main coach, I know she's one of the top people in the Canadian program. And I was around, of course, during her heyday, but that was probably the period where I paid least attention. I still raced every year. There was no Red Bull, so it wasn't easy to just watch every single World Cup and keep track of that. You had to read, still back in the magazine days where everything is a month or 2 late. So I kind of forgot how dominant she was and how great and how long of a career she had. So for her to be kind of working with the younger generation, I mean, that's only going to equal good things, I would think. So I hope those juniors and U23s are appreciative of having somebody of her caliber help running that show. It's really, really cool. I still follow her Instagram. She still rides. Still looks the same. She could probably still do pretty good at World Cups if she wanted to. So that's very cool. Let's move on to the short track. We all know what happened there. No spoilers. That's over now for a day or two. No surprise at all to me that Gaze killed that. I mean, not that it matters, the physical physique of these athletes, but wow, Sam Gaze looks like Vanderpool. I mean, he's skinny and he's just the right height where he just looks like he's absolutely pure power. And man, oh man, did he lay it on there. So I think Nino was probably smart not bothering doing the short tracks. Same with Flukiger. I think that was Gaze's race to win no matter what. I think he was determined to kill it. So nothing surprising there. It was we all expected Luca Schwarzbauer. At least it seemed like he had probably the best next shot at gold. And, we all, in case you didn't watch the video, I'm sure you probably did if you're listening to this. The old Pidcock railroad that guy right into the ground. Man, that's a tough one. To me, it was not the classiest move, but I am not going to, say one way or the other who was right or wrong. It just looks to me like Luca got a little spooked. I mean, if you're not expecting somebody in any situation like that to come zipping up right next to you that quick. I mean, if you watch the 5 seconds before that turn, Pidcock was absolutely flying straight down that hill. He was going through there no matter what. You're not expecting that, and somebody's suddenly there. You don't really have time to react. It's kind of nerve-wracking. It's almost like getting scared, when somebody pops around a corner and scares you. It's like that. Like you just kind of don't have the reaction time to do something. And if he saw him coming and saw him squeezing in there, you would imagine Luca would simply go wide. Pidcock would squeeze in there, and then maybe they'd have a gnarly sprint to the finish. But, man, that was a tough call for Luca. I think he was really kind of wanting to. He probably would have got a silver in that situation. Well, maybe not a silver. That was pretty solid, too. So, but at least he would have got a bronze. So that just adds to the old Pidcock legacy. I read a lot of things online how people seem to not like him. I never really knew there was anything like that going on until recently. So now every time I watch him race, I'll be watching it through the idea that maybe he's not well liked. Could just be rumors. Who knows? Tend to believe it, though, from the people who said it. That leads us to the XCO coming up tomorrow. I'm very excited about that. That is, of course, the big one that everybody's been waiting for. To me, PFP is going to win that thing. If you saw the way she raced that short track, that was old school. Pauline, she just sat there right at the front, didn't let anybody go. And then right when she wanted to, she took off, and then nobody could catch her. And that's, I think, probably how it'll go. Now, whether she waits till the last lap, we won't know, of course, for sure till tomorrow. But the last time I noticed when she looked that skinny, I mean, she looks anorexic almost, is when she just was wiping everybody out. So she looks that way again, and she looks determined, and I don't know. I think even Puck is going to have her hands full. Puck might go out and lead for much of that race, but I bet Pauline sticks with her enough to have that last lap or two surge. I don't know. It's going to be a good one. It's going to be a really good one. The start grid controversy, of course, is a thing today that just popped up. They get Vanderpool and Pidcock right in the middle. Now, Pidcock, of course, did some races early in the year. That's no surprise. I think they said 4th or 5th row. But Vanderpool, technically, he was very last call up until today. But I guess everybody is kind of up in arms because Peter Sagan has also suddenly went from last and he to the 4th or 5th row, and he has not raced at all, not even one time as far as I know. So why they're moving these people up, I don't know, but it's kind of interesting to see that the group of racers got together and penned a letter and sent it to the UCI commissioner and basically said, hey, that ain't fair. We work way too hard to get these positions, and now you're just going to bump a couple people who really don't deserve to be bumped just because they're big stars. So, I mean, if you look at the list of names who signed, this particular document, it's basically everybody. You got your Ninos, your Neffs, Saru, LeCompte, Forster, even Haley Batten, who's not even there. I don't think she's there anyway. Hatherley, Fry, I haven't seen. It's everybody. Young and old, new and experienced, Litcher, Koretsky. So, interesting. Whether anything's going to happen between now and tomorrow, who knows? But I kind of doubt it. I'm sure once you promise a Vanderpool and a Sagan, hey, you're going to get bumped, probably not that easy to pull it back. Who knows? They said that the head of the UCI himself kind of made that call. I don't like it. Apparently, neither does a lot of other people. I don't really know anyone that's saying, yeah, that's cool, man. Bump them up. Put them on the front row. That's crazy. Even fourth row is better than the last row. Big time. So, be interesting to see what happens in that regards. Now, one thing I do want to mention that's kind of interesting about the world champs. Did you know, and I don't know, you probably didn't know, that there is a world champ. In fact, it's going on either right now or soon. Artistic cycling. That's right. Or you've seen this maybe on talk shows. I've seen it years ago. Where you do tricks on a bike, but like dancing or almost like ice skating. Where they even have teams, doubles, where you have two, and they're riding these really freaky looking bikes with the drop bars that are flipped upside down, like I see a lot of the people on the bike path, where they take the drop bars and flip them up so they can raise the grip area, and really weird looking seats. Yeah, I mean, it's a real thing. World champs for that type of thing. I might actually watch one just to see what it's all about. I mean, I've seen it, but to think that there was a world champ, an actual competition of that, who knew? Also, of course, the paracycling world champs is going on with the hand bikes, which are really cool. That's, one interesting benefit to having all of these world champs in one place in one time is that you get to see a lot of other events that you didn't even realize existed. So I wonder if they're going to try this again going forward, where they combine everything into one. I mean, it's logistically probably both harder and easier. I mean, do it all at once in one place, or spread it out all over the place at different times. I don't know. I kind of like it. It kind of has an Olympic feel now, to it, where everything's all together. I kind of like it. We'll see what happens next year. So that's it for now on the World Champs. Of course, we'll do a full follow-up on Tuesday, kind of wrap it all up. Super congrats to all the medal winners. But even that, just to all the people who just got there in one way or another, especially from some of these smaller countries, these people you don't really know, who don't do, a bunch of World Cups all over the place. It's still really cool for them to be able to go and experience it. It's cool. Maybe someday we'll have a World Champs in the U.S. or southern parts of Canada, and we can, people from the U.S. here can go experience that. All right, we're going to take a quick break. All right, shout out to Loam Lab Components, LOAMLAB.bike, loamlab.bike. We'll keep this on a Canadian theme here. They're up in Squamish, British Columbia. They don't have a whole lot of products, but the ones they have I find extremely interesting. So check them out. One of their products, Counterpunch, and little bar grip and mini bar end pinky stop type things. I'm not exactly sure what I would call them, but I'm hoping that they will help me get off my dependence of full-on bar ends, because these things are exactly what I was looking for. And to think that some little company up in Canada already had them manufactured is really cool. So check them out, Loam Lab Components. After next week's video, you may actually understand why I'm so excited about these things, and maybe check them out yourself. So, loamlab.bike. Thanks. All right, let's get back to it here. Heading towards the end. I do want to mention a movie I saw back at the end of June called The Last Rider. Maybe you've seen it in your YouTube feed or mentioned on some other websites. It's Greg LeMond documentary, mainly about the Tour win where he won by, I think, 8 seconds. I have not been to a movie in years. I'm not exaggerating. 5, 6 years, maybe longer. It's not my thing. I don't really, nothing has caught my fancy. So when I saw an actual movie in a theater, I thought, you know what, I'm gonna go check this out. So I found a theater near me, and it's 5:00 in the evening, and I paid my $7, which seems reasonable, and thought I'd see maybe, couple bikers in there, and be kind of an event of sorts. Nope. I quite literally was the only person in that movie theater for the first 10 minutes, and then one straggler came in. I kind of missed the whole first part. So it was 2 people. $7. They made $14 on that particular show. But that's not the point. The point is, was it a good experience? It's a great story. Seeing it on a gigantic modern screen, however, was not. All the footage is from, the 80s and late 80s. So it was quite terrible to see these grainy VHS quality images blown up, 15,000 times bigger than it really was meant to. So in that regard, seeing it in a movie theater was kind of a bust. I would not do that again. I would just pay whatever the rental fee is going to be whenever it's released. I don't know, maybe it's been over, a month and a half now, so maybe it's already available. But it was a good story, and it's a story that I think more people should know about. I mean, I'm going to show it to my kids. I have 2 teenage daughters who don't really care about cycling, and it was such a kind of inspirational story told by the real guy, and real footage, and a few behind the scenes people that, I don't know, it was a very inspirational. When you finish it, you think, man, that guy kind of pulled off something pretty amazing. So I highly recommend it on that regards. If you just like cycling in general, even mountain biking, if that's your main thing, it was still a really excellent experience, and probably worth whatever they're going to charge for the rental. So if you're ever bored, maybe wait till it gets cold here and you're sitting home during the fall, winter, nothing to watch. You've already watched all your normal stuff, nothing good on YouTube. Go check that out. I'm not sure when they're going to release it, if it's not already, but it's definitely worth looking at. And that's about it for now. I would like to mention next week's podcast. I concluded a interview with I would say a young man, I guess compared to me, young man, Casey Hildebrand. He's up near Green Bay, Wisconsin, and he's the one who recently at the U.S. Championships, National Champs, got 5th in the short track. And if you look at the first 4 positions, it's Colorado, Wisconsin. That's what caught my eye. I'm like, whoa. And then I looked at the name, Casey Hildebrand. I remember, I've seen that name before. So I went back to some of the Wisconsin off-road series that I do myself, and there he is at the top. He won one of them already this year. I think he got fifth and fourth or second. So he's always at the top, and that's why that name stuck out, because I always see him. His passion is cyclocross racing, and so he's always at the top there too, which I actually kind of enjoy as a second love next to mountain biking. So he had some pretty interesting things to say. He went to Europe, and we talk about kind of the experience of somebody going to Europe and staying over there to race. That alone I found pretty interesting. And we talked briefly about his bike, and I'll show some, I'll include some of the video. I'm going to put the whole interview, it's roughly 35 minutes. I'm going to do the whole interview as a video. I'm sorry, I'm going to do the whole interview as the audio for the podcast, and then I'll show some of the probably 5-10 minutes of the highlights on video and some pictures of his bike. He has kind of a cool bike, kind of stuff put together on there from different manufacturers than you typically see. So overall, I thought it was really cool, and he's somebody that I'm going to kind of follow for the rest of the year now and see what happens. So we got that going next week. Of course, we'll talk about the World Champs one last time before then we can start focusing on the last few, the World Cups. Got Leadville tomorrow. This is pretty cool couple of weeks here. To me, I always follow Leadville. I love to watch, you can't really watch it happen in real time. You can follow the tweets and the time checks, but that is a cool race. That's not something I don't think I could ever handle personally. 100 miles, part of it wouldn't be the end of the world, but that elevation, there's just no way I think I could pull that off. It probably isn't worth even trying. So we'll see what happens there. We'll see if Keegan Swenson, he's pretty much going to win that thing, I think. I don't really know who else is going to top him this year. So check that out tomorrow if you are bored and want to kind of see a little more cross-country stuff. As if the World Champs wasn't enough, you have that to look forward to. And what else? First video should be released next week. It's going to kind of go along with these podcasts with a lot of images and video that I have that might be better suited as a video. That's it. May only have one podcast next week. May start adopting the one a week and one video type thing. I'm not sure yet. This is all kind of fluid as I get going. So thanks again, and I hope to talk to you next week.